Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, is the sequel to the 2018 film Den of Thieves. Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr. returned to reprise their roles. You got the same director as the first one coming back. And yeah, this time, we're going to fucking Europe. Yeah. So in this one, lawman Big Nick is pursuing career criminal Donnie Wilson in Europe as he embroils himself into the dangerous world of diamond thieves. Okay, Den of Thieves 2. Before I get into my thoughts on this one, what did I think of the first one? Okay, so the first one came out in 2018. I was seeing movies regularly in theaters already back then, but I didn't see the first one in theaters. It just didn't really catch my interest. I don't know, because all I heard was that it was pretty much a ripoff of Heat, and Heat's a great film. So yeah, it didn't really catch my interest, but I did finally see it in 2021. And I enjoyed the first one. It's not a great movie by any means, but it was entertaining. I liked the gritty tone. It had compelling characters. The action was pretty cool. So yeah, because I did enjoy the first one quite a bit, I was curious to see what the sequel would deliver. And I gotta say, this movie sucked! Before I complain about Den of Thieves 2, I do have some positives. The action sequences are good, for the most part. You get some nice shootouts here. There's a really good car chase / shootout at some point in the movie. It's very well done. The sound design is actually really good. It was those moments when I was watching this movie where I was like, I wish this movie had more of this, because there is not enough of that in this movie. Because this movie, for the vast majority of it, is just long, drawn-out scenes of boring, stupid, bad dialogue. Gerard Butler and O'Shea Jackson Jr., they came to work in this movie. They are trying their best to make everything in this movie work. They're doing their best. They give really good performances. And just like in the first one, I thought their characters were pretty compelling. And that's where my positives stop. You know, just some decent action, and the two lead characters are still good. Everything else, I couldn't give a fucking shit about. This movie tries to go for a more stylish tone than the first one, but I honestly preferred the grittier, more intimate tone that the first one had over the lush, stylistic approach of this movie. It just felt more compelling and interesting in the first movie with the tone that one had. And also, this movie, for the most part, is boring. This movie is a snooze fest. I lost count on how many times I checked the fucking time, because this movie was boring me to death. Say what you will about the first one, because I know the first one didn't get very good reviews. At least the first one wasn't boring. And you know, this movie, you know, being a sequel to kind of a Heat knockoff, you know, there would be a heist in this movie, right? And there is. And it is one of the most underwhelming heists I have ever seen. No suspense, no thrills, no excitement. You would think because this movie is centered around a heist, that would be the most exciting part of the movie. And it's not. The shootouts and chase scenes, those were okay. One of them in particular being really good. You had to make the heist the most dull part of the movie in terms of what you should have for action. Why? What the fuck? No! That's not how you do shit! You did that very well in the first one, Christian Gudegast. Is that how you pronounce it? Where did that skill go? You did a perfectly good heist in the first one, directing wise. Now you do a boring as shit one in this. I'm at a loss for words. You made what should be the pinnacle of the movie be very underwhelming. That ain't gonna fly with me. And now, here's another issue I have with Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. The characters. Now, the main two characters, they're still good. I'll give the movie some credit there, like I already have earlier in this review. But you made all of the other characters equally as boring as most of this movie. You know, the first movie had interesting characters all across the board. Some were better than others, but the first one was interesting from beginning to end. Where this movie, you have the two main characters front and center, which is good, and you have them be interesting, which is good, but then you have a shit ton of side characters in here, and every single one of them suck. This movie is the biggest downgrade from the first one I have seen in a while. Now, this movie isn't, this still isn't like the worst first weekend of January movie that I have seen in my time of reviewing, but this is definitely one of the most underwhelming. I've seen a lot of reviews for this movie from critics saying that this one was better than the first one. No, it's fucking not. The first movie was entertaining, exciting, had good action, really good characters. It's not a perfect movie, but it did its job. This movie did not. This movie's boring, lifeless, did not need to exist. This movie did not need to happen. Den of Thieves did not need a fucking sequel. And this movie proves that. Den of Thieves should have just been one movie. Okay? There we go. Now, yeah, this is only the second movie of 2025. And yeah, technically, this is the worst movie of the year so far, but this is only the second movie I saw. We still got lots of movies to cover later on. So, yeah. Am I able to recommend Den of Thieves 2? No. I could say if you're like a diehard fan of Den of Thieves, you'll probably want to check this one out. Who knows, you might like it. Some people are liking this movie. I'm not one of them. This movie really let me down, because I do like the first one. I'm not a hardcore fan of it, but I like it. It's a decent movie. This movie was just the definition, the prime example of painfully mediocre. I am going to give Den of Thieves 2 Pantera a D+.